Mrs. Namrata Jajoo, you know, I always believe that entrepreneurship is a way of life. It's not just about building ventures and running ventures. It needs certain deep-rooted skills, deep-rooted mindset. So, my question to you is, how do you see creativity and innovation as part of the character building process? And how do you do this in schools?
Good afternoon. My regards to the dignitaries, to all my fellow educators, the team and founders of Think Startup, and all the dear students here. I represent a group of schools which is under Mahatma Gandhi Mission Trust. We have 8 institutions. So there are 2 CBSE schools, we have 4 state board schools, we have a teacher education college, and we have a pre-primary school. And it's based on the very simple foundational principles of Mahatma Gandhi, which is truth, peace, and simplicity. So I'm going to draw the context and my response to your question from our own experiences. So in this whole idea, when I talk about seeding and sparking creativity and innovation, I would say there are, 3 pronged paths that we have followed. So the first is, which I think is foremost for each one of us as adults, is to be role models for children. So what we have done is we say teachers as adult learners. I'll give you a couple of examples of what we've done in this area. So one thing which we do is across all our institutions we have subject cohorts. So every 15 days our teachers get together. And what do? So जब ये teachers साथ में मिलते हैं तो ये बात करते हैं कि अच्छा हमारे सब्जेक्ट में अभी disruptive innovation क्या हो रहा है. अगर ये कॉन्सेप्ट पढ़ाना है, हमको अगर डेसिमल्स पढ़ाने हैं तो हम ये कितनी अलग-अलग तरीकों से पढ़ा सकते हैं. So here you have the teachers collaborating, and you have all these teachers of math who are talking about how can we take education a notch up in the classroom. And again, it's not just math and English and science, it's sports, it's music and dance, it's media. So all these cohorts are running. In fact, currently we have 11 cohorts which run. The other big idea is teacher as a researcher. So this year, this is a fresh start that we've done. Every teacher has chosen a research question. And the teacher is going to be looking at that question through action research in his or her own classroom. So again, the students are going to be looking up to us as role models, and the idea of creativity or innovation gets linked to say, oh, here I have someone who's doing it, right? So we brought it alive that way. The second big idea is to say that students should be the problem solvers and not just the solution finders. So what am I trying to say here is that I allow my student to look at the problems, to identify what are the problems that they would like to solve, and then look at curating the solutions. So to give you an example here again, what we did this year was the students at the first week of the academic year, they defined their own SWOT, their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and they set up small, doable, short-term, quarterly goals for themselves. And they went into their portfolio files. Now suddenly the student was taking ownership of what they wanted to do, and within the next 3 months. So what are we saying here? The child is now going to look at different ways in which they want to achieve their goal. We run a 20 doors program. It's about building values, which you talked about building character, right? Again, I feel you can't preach. So what you need to do is really where they're drawing their own lessons. So the 20 doors is like opening up 20 doors through experiential learning. And the child is going to pick up his or her own lesson through that experience. I'll give you one example of that. The door is called "Why Shouldn't I?" Right? So what am I inspiring the child to say? What is it that you've never tried in your life, and why can't you try and do it? So the first thing which they did was to clean their own toilets at home and in the school. Now suddenly we've been talking about the Japanese education system and the Finnish education system, but here we made it reality. Let's keep it simple. Trust me, the first 2 days nothing was happening because the children were hesitant, they were feeling a bit withdrawn, and then when it happened they came back and said, "Ma'am, yes we can." So I think just those 2 words, "we can," I think that made a huge difference. Another though, we made them write their eulogy. We said, okay, what do you want to be remembered for? When you read this word, what do you want to be remembered for? Immediately it's sparking your curiosity, your innovation to say, okay, what is it that I want to do with my life? And that was a huge, huge success at Delhi. So I think, just making the school alive, bringing the world into your classroom. I think these are the kind of small little steps that we are continuously looking at. And the third big idea is to say that look at inclusion as something which you are going to bring about through community participation. So this 15th August, our students launched a Joy Club. And just like the name suggests, the idea here was to bring joy into the lives of people, especially the elderly people. So what these children have done is, they've curated various events and let me give you a simple example. On day one, the inaugural session, what they did was they did origami with the elderly people. And origami to make cranes because cranes signify freedom. Suddenly here, he was looking at these elders so deeply engaged in trying to get that fold right, in trying to do something which would actually engage them. And the students were taking ownership, they were building leadership, they were trying out 3 different ways to help the elderly learn. Right? So that's the kind of thing which I feel in a daily way, in a practice where the child is taking the lead and being center stage to make the difference, and also making a difference in the community. So our children learn Braille this month so that they can interact with the visually impaired and visually challenged children. And they put funds together to gift guitars to these children. So it's not a one-off thing. They regularly go to this blind school and they're talking to all the children and they're trying to do things for them. So I feel at the very initial levels, if we do this, one school which we have is in Limgaon, which is 4 hours away from Aurangabad. So I was there last month. When we walked in, all the footwear was kept outside the school. So I said, oh, probably, they're trying to follow some Gurukul system. But I kind of said, oh, this looks, how has this been done? And there's this grade 2 little child, and they call teachers Miss there. So मिस अभी ना बारिश हो रही है तो हमने अपने जूते चप्पल बाहर खोले क्योंकि हमारे पास एक ही मौसी है और उनके पास बहुत काम हो जाएगा. So, problem solving, empathy, compassion, I think giving children that space to build all that makes a difference. And it really is small steps. Like Chintan sir also said, you get children to get engaged, to look at creativity and innovation not as rocket science, but to build a mindset. I think once the mindset is in space, these children will do wonders. So, I'm a big believer and I believe that things can happen and they will happen with these small little steps.
Can I be your student?
You're most welcome. Please do visit us, but I'm giving an open invitation to all of you. Please do come to Aurangabad and I'll take you to Limgaon as well.
Wow,
yeah.
It would be a pleasure to join you, man. And I must say, as you were elaborating, you were talking very simple things, role modeling, problem solving, but all those soft skills like empathy, observation skills, right? Being able to be independent thinker, all of that was actually being captured as you were speaking. So, marvelous. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.